gentlemen, and I know a lot tonight is preaching to the choir. You guys are leaders. You're already in leading groups. You participate in groups. However, I wanted to have this night so we're all on the same page. We're all consistent. Because our number one mission is unity. So I have a couple questions for you guys. Did anybody here feel a little awkward at any moment? No. Did anybody here feel like incredibly comfortable? That you're among your best friends? Okay. Now, in our breakout groups, which you guys are going to facilitate, you're going to get a range from someone who's feeling very uncomfortable up to somebody who's feeling very dominant in a group. So I've watched you guys, some of you, the first time met, what am I supposed to ask? What am I supposed to talk about? Keep that in mind. That's the same thing those folks are going to have. Those gentlemen are going to have. What do you want me to talk about? How open do you want me to be? And then there's other people who have been friends for 20 years, happen to be in the same group, and they're going to be very comfortable and have more conversations maybe than the guy next to them. Okay? As facilitators, I'm trusting you. I'm trusting God's working in you to be the best leaders in those groups. And the best way we do it is by example. Now, in our breakout groups, we're going to have 2 people, and most of us are going to have 2 facilitators per group. There's going to be a few that are going to be by themselves. Okay, but we have 15 rooms, and we have 28 facilitators. So we might be able to pull a couple more. As I'm waiting today, for example, might get a couple more. My goal is to have 2 per room. In case you're sick, something comes up at work, there's always someone there. But also, you guys can partner with each other and feed off each other for whatever scenario that comes up, from engaging someone who's been really quiet week after week to gently nudge somebody who might be dominating. But I want you guys to have an experience, one, to meet each other, because we're from all over the place. We're at least in the same area, but we're from all kinds of denominations, styles. And really, right now, that doesn't matter. We believe in Christ. He's our leader. He's our Savior. And we'll land the plane on that. And how we worship, whether we're dancing, on our knees, flat on our face, or anywhere in between, if it's authentic in our heart, it's beautiful to God. And I believe you guys will support me on that to support them on that. That would be beautiful. And tell you the truth, if you get up front when this room is full and you hear the men sing, first week they're a little less willing, second and third week they're all of a sudden like have this freedom, and you can feel, wow, that was different, feel the vibration. You can feel the voice waves on the back of your neck. It's an amazing experience. Okay? So the idea here is what H.U.G.E and Warm Beach and the partnership, and I asked Ed to be here today, and he's going to talk a little bit more about the partnership, is what is our mission and vision? Now I asked you guys to look up the Matthew 22 verse, and I'm hoping we have different versions of it, but I would like someone to volunteer to read the version that they have.
Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like it. Love your neighbors yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these 2 commandments."
Anybody have a different version? Anything that's different? Any message?
Jesus said, "Love the Lord your God with all your passion and prayer and intelligence." This is the most important, the first on any list. But there is a second to set alongside it. Love others as well as you love yourself. These 2 commands are pegs. Everything in God's law and the prophets hangs on them.
So if you ever wonder, okay, what is H.U.G.E? Who is H.U.G.E? What are they about? These verses is what we hinge our ministry about. And when we're talking about a partnership, like with Warm Beach, we look through, they have the same vision. They might have different verses. They might have different mission statements. But it's the mindset, the common ground there. And Northwest Men's Fellowship, the same thing. And it was interesting, when we were putting this together, Now, how many of you know of MAPA, the Marysville Association of Pastors? Okay. They were doing it at the exact same time. We didn't know it. They didn't know we were doing it. And guess what verses they picked? The exact same ones. The exact same ones. God is working in this area. I'm not just talking about Marysville or Stone County. I'm talking about the Northwest, including Spokane and Montana area. God is working here and bringing unity together that has not seen anywhere else. Now, I know some of you guys travel. Maybe you can attest it, but people who do travel talk to me say it is very unique here. This is something that is very special, and it's noticeable. Now that it's noticeable, there's some great responsibility on our shoulders. Great responsibility. How many of you have seen the movie Battle Los Angeles? Battle Los Angeles? Battle LA? There's two scenes in there it just gets me so inspired. They're going through that whole battle, they're really getting a butt kicked, and they finally get to a helicopter to get them back to base. And they discover that dark hole where they figure that command center is. And the leader, who by death of his commanding officer is now the leader, says, ask the person who knows what that would be. And he says, I gotta recon them. Because this could be the deciding pivotal point. Tells the helicopter pilot to take everyone back, but get me down low enough so I can repel from the rope. And he repels. And guess what his whole company does? Vroom, vroom. He didn't ask one of them, but they all repelled. And you can almost see they're giddy. They're following him. And then when at the end of the movie, when they get to the base, they destroy the enemy, etc., and they're just blood and dirt and hungry and tired. They're going in and everyone's high-fiving. Good job, 205. I can't remember what command or what unit they are. And they're just, in a way, they're heroes. They're done. They finished their mission. And they go in there and they find out that all these guys are going out, and the commanding officer is go get some chow and some sleep. And what does that leader do? Goes up to the table, starts loading his ammunition clips. And then about 2 seconds later, another guy comes in. And pretty soon the whole command is up there. His whole unit is up there, loading up, and they're getting on the chopper, going right back up. And the commanding officer, what are you doing? Very 8. We're going back out. That leader led by example. Great responsibility. We're in that boat. It's a time to, in a way, be, my God, you chose me. You asked me to be a part of this, to be in a breakout group, to facilitate, to maybe me, to share my story, to hear somebody's story, to help them through a marriage, through a problem with a child. Whatever it may be that's coming in front of you in the next few weeks. God chose you to be a part of that. And the evidence is because you're here. If you weren't here, I'm tired, I have a TV show to watch, I have this, etc., you wouldn't be here. So I'm saying this to encourage you, inspire you, but to also be mindful. You have great responsibility, but there's great joy and peace. God chose to use you, and wow. Out of all the billions of people, He chose us. What a privilege. Put it on. That's what H.U.G.E is about. That's why we're partnering up with Warm Beach. That's why we're partnering up with other ministries to have that same mindset, the unity. It's not that we or this or that has the only game in town. It's what are they doing really well, and how can we emphasize that? What do we do really well? What are each one of you do really well? Let's emphasize that and bring it out in your breakout groups. Things that I'm praying for is that these next 5 weeks is not the end. I know a lot of you are already in men's groups, and I keep going to those men's groups, but what if that men's group wants to continue? Just keep that as a possibility. What if you and your partner, or you or your partner, both of you, want to continue that group? I know Josh wasn't prepared for this, but I wanted him to tell us a story of something that happened last year. A group of men who met after the forum and how it served him and his family.
I
your wife, Stratton.
Okay. Stand up, I'm sure there's a video camera over there somewhere. Alright, so last year, it was actually at the men's retreat at the time, the men's advance now. There was a gentleman who I connected with during just one of those teaching sessions. An opportunity to talk with him, just kind of introduce ourselves. Seemed like a pretty good guy. And I lead a small group on Tuesday nights, and I got held up in a conversation after the group got stuck a little bit late, and I never ring my phone. I don't want to be interrupted. And after about 45 minutes, of after staying after, I realized, it's kind of late. I should check my phone. Sure enough, I missed 10 calls from my wife, and so I called her back. She was kind of frantic. Her car had been broken down, and she had both my young kids with her. And so my whole mind's racing. Here I am, trying to serve God, and all this is happening. So I kind of panic, and the brother I was talking with, kind of follows me when we rush up to where she's at. And a gentleman that I met at the men's advance is there with my wife. He and another brother, they had a men's group that night. And when they left that group, they had prayed that God might use them that night to serve somebody. They weren't sure how that was going to be, how it was going to look, just say He used them to serve somebody. Those two men happened to come across my wife and children who were broken down, and were there, just keeping her safe, essentially, until I got there. It was pitched in the middle of the night, 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah. So, I love this story because, sometimes when you serve others and you're in ministry, and God's using you, sometimes He reveals the fruit, sometimes He doesn't. So it's like relish when you get to. So, we're saying, okay, here's an indirect positive effect being involved in this unity. Some men who wanted to be used by God used them, so you can have confidence and faith in your conversation. How can I step up in leadership? God says, I got your family. So those are the kind of things that we will be a part of. Sometimes we'll get the privilege to know about it, sometimes we won't. And that's not the point. The point is that we're obedient. God, use me. How will that be? That's up to you. I just want to be willing. I want to be obedient. You say go forward, I'll go forward. You say stop, I will stop. And the results are left up to you. These next few weeks, 5 weeks, couple months, we're going to see some amazing works in people's lives throughout the whole area. There's going to be ripple effects that are going to go for years. I'm just excited about it. It's picked up, your breakout groups also, you will get the discussion questions. You basically get a whole outline, hopefully no later than Wednesday or Thursday. I need to get the discussion questions from the speaker of that next week. Once I get that, believe it or not, I kind of go through, edit, typical spelling errors, etc. So I go through and edit a little bit. And then I put it into an outline. So part of the outline, we're going to get an icebreaker. Something to break the ice with your guys, especially the first week who don't know each other. Because if you're not aware, they don't get a choice to which breakout group they get to go to. They're going to get, come in and they'll have these agendas. And on the corner will be room 104. Another one will be 102. Another one will be 203. And they just randomly pick them. That's their breakout group. Again, we don't want the guys to just go into the comfort groups that they already know. We want them to spread out, start meeting new men, to expand this idea of unity. Now, that's not etched in stone. If someone has their son and says, I really like my son in the group, yes, take your son. This is my neighbor, he doesn't know anybody here, yes, take your friend. So it's not etched in stone, but we want to really encourage this to, expand your comfort zone. Get out of that safe zone and be willing to go to a different breakout group. So with that in mind, we're building unity, but then there's going to be all the male barriers and things that come up. So we'll have icebreakers, and this is why I want you guys to remember, what did it feel like tonight, or other times you've been in groups where you felt a little bit uncomfortable, because you didn't know overlapping, but there was a few groups that had no one from the same church. And you ask those facilitators, they had great groups. Those groups really did an excellent job. So you'll get an email, be an outline, icebreaker, and you can use it or not. That's between you and your partner. Discussion questions and a couple other things. There might be some announcements on there. Because we're doing this a little different. If you look at the agenda, we'll start with snacks at 6:45. And I'm asking all of you guys at 6:55 to shoot them all in. It's hard enough just to get you guys in. Think of 150 or so guys getting them in. Now the band's going to start with the song from Casting Crowns Courageous. That's the keynote song. We're going to do that all 5 weeks. At 6:55, we're going to start the song. So when you see the song or see the clock, please start shooting in so we can start at 7 and not people straggling in because of conversations. And then it's just not me over there calling. I need your help on that. So we're going to start at 7, and the rest of the agenda is kind of the same as last year, except for the breakout groups. When we go to breakout groups, we're not coming back. So we looked at our surveys, we listened to the people who attend here, what do you think, etc. So they really want more time. Well, to come back, it takes up about 10 minutes. To get them to stop, walk back here, get them gathered, have those last few comments. And say, you know what, let's try it. Let's try it. We'll go to the breakout groups, we'll have all announcements, etc. at the beginning. We'll go to the breakout groups after the worship and message. And then from the breakout groups, you guys at 9 o'clock sharp, wherever the conversation is, just say, listen, time out. Okay, we're in a great conversation, but to honor everybody, we are going to end at 9 o'clock. So let's close with prayer. Anybody who wants to stay, can stay. Anybody who wants to go, can go. Because if I'm the guy who says, I promised my wife I'd be home by 9:15, and there's this great conversation, and I feel really rude if I walk out in the middle of it, that's not fair to me. So we need to bring it to a close at 9, close it in prayer, and we're going to be excused from your room. But be available if there's a good conversation to keep going. Or bring it into another room, or bring someone else in. I'm trusting you guys. And on the outline, I'm trusting you to tweak it, to take your group. Your group, my group, each one of our groups is going to be a little different. So you want to tweak that icebreaker? Do so. You want to tweak those questions a little bit? Do so. You want to add some scriptures to it? Do so. You're going to know your group better than anyone else. Tweak it to serve your group. So now I want to ask Ed to come up. If you guys do not know, this is Ed McDowell. He works at Warm Beach. You're the director, right? So you're the big wig there. So Ed spoke at our retreat, I would say 3 years ago. First year there. Did a phenomenal job. It was interesting. I think you really enjoyed our company too. So it was instant friendship, instant collaboration between us. So what Ed does with Med Advances, he MCs that. So Ed and I are going to partner with that. So the idea, I'm going to have to talk about the partnership, but I want you guys to kind of get the idea of this. I want Ed to come up and talk a little bit about our partnership with Warm Beach.
It's really great to be doing this together, and I'm really excited about it. We've been doing at Warm Beach a men's advance for, since I was a little boy. And I grew up in it, going to them. And it's got, its rise and fall, and rise and fall a few times over the years. And in this last 7 or 8 years, we've just seen a real pressure on men for time in their lives to focus on getting things right with God. Well, then we synced up with you a few years ago, and you had me as a speaker while we were also the host site. And there was a connection there that was just so compatible. And then that led to some conversation here over this last year about what would it be like to do this together. And the idea is not for Warm Beach to take H.U.G.E over, or for H.U.G.E to take Warm Beach over. The idea is that in the body of Christ, when we come together, we can do more together than we could possibly do alone. And that we can lift His name up in a stronger way, get more people engaged in it. And when I looked at your story, I looked at that you had a really clear mission. Now for me, that first verse of your mission is extremely personal. You got 5 sons. And when we are praying over the years of the guys going down at night or in another small group setting, the first verse of that, except the Old Testament version, which has one additional word, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, is in the Old Testament. We use the Old Testament version of that, and I tell you, that's kind of the focused phrase with the guys in my house. Hey, remember, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Second thing is you have a really clear mandate. You know what you're doing, you know why you're doing it, and you know who you're trying to connect with. And that was really important, that we weren't just out there kind of drifting with some big ideas and no tangible way to go after that. And then the third is you've got a methodology that I think is right for the time. It's not an overbearing methodology. You got these focus times. You got the forum, commit 5 weeks. You got this huge men's advance, commit 1 weekend. And then you've got the 5th Saturdays, and commit that time. And I got to thinking about all of the churches that we networked with over the years and saying, that's doable. So a clear mission, a strong mandate, and the right method for the right time. So I see the partnership. We're doing kind of a design build, and I really appreciate that. Because in the design build, what you got to do is say yes to each other and trust, and then figure a lot of things out as you go. And we've been doing that. How are we handling registration? How are we doing when we've done a lot more of kind of a seminar format, and you've done more of a life community group format? How do we bring those things together? And we're doing that. And I think you'll see a nice mix of those two. And I think you'll see James and I just work really well there together. And I'm just really thankful that we're in this. I think it's going to take a few years to really start to say, hey, so we're all part of this first thing together. And I'm grateful for that. So thank you. And thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. How many of you remember last year at the forum when I was trying to encourage us we had 170 guys here, and we said, okay, each one of us go to the retreat. And we brought a gentleman. We would be over the 300 mark, which was the minimum. It was 335 is the minimum to reserve the whole camp of Warm Beach. You remember that challenge I put out there? And I said, okay, this is how we're going to do it. Because we kept having that stupid distraction of cheerleaders and girls and stuff like that. And we never blamed Warm Beach. Their business, they needed sell those beds and stuff. So we said, okay, guys, we each commit and we bring a friend. We got it. We can commit to the next year. Well, at the retreat, we didn't have that. I'm going, okay, I know God wants us to move forward in this. What does He have in mind? And then Warm Beach Saturday morning comes up and says, hey guys, have you ever considered maybe partnering with us? And I was just going, this was by our might, at least in my mind, okay, we're going to do it by our strength, and it fell flat on its face. And then God says, I'm going to do it my way. And this little curveball from left field came in. And that's why I'm absolutely convinced this is God-driven. Because it wasn't by our might. Our might actually fell flat on its face. Again. Again. And so maybe that's part of why I feel like this is one of those crossroads. This is where there's more buzz. This is God-driven. I have no doubt. Every year we learn from our previous year, and we trust that we're going to get better at it, and better at it. And since we have great dialogue with Warm Beach, I have no doubt that we're just going to continue to improve.